Back in the 1980s, I used to ride with a multi-brand club out of Central Texas. We had like Hondas and Yamahas and a few Harleys. That was before the Hog Club existed. And we had a lot of good folks in that club, and one of them was named Bob. And I always thought Bob was a real motorcyclist. Now, we were apt to tell stories about each other. One of the stories was about Bob going to get a loaf of bread for his wife. The story goes that one day his wife asked Bob to go down to the store and get her a loaf of bread. He said, "No problem," and grabbed his helmet and jumped on his motorcycle, and boom, off he went. 2 weeks later, he came home. Now, later on, we got around to asking Bob about that story. Hey, Bob, did you really do that? Why did you do that? Why did you go off for a loaf of bread and stay gone 2 weeks? And he said, I was on the bike. The weather was beautiful. The bike was running great. And I just didn't want to stop riding. Another story about Bob was his motorcycle. Bob didn't buy his own motorcycle. Someone gave him a motorcycle. Now, we were always kind of wondering, well, that might be a kind of sketchy because nobody during the 1980s was going to give anybody a motorcycle. Well, the motorcycle that Bob had, I'm sure you've seen similar motorcycles. You'll understand it when I describe it to you. The seat cover was disintegrated and was now nothing but a roll and a half of duct tape. No one really knew what the name on the tank was because all the paint had faded off. In fact, they weren't really sure what kind of motorcycle it was. The majority of folks thought it was probably a Honda, but there was an equal number of folks thought it was Yamaha. But one thing is for certain, the consensus among everybody was that they had never seen a motorcycle like that on any showroom floor. But that didn't matter to Bob. Bob got on that motorcycle and he rode it. There were more miles on that motorcycle than many of the gold rings that were in the club. And our group, our club was very active. We'd go on Saturday rides and Sunday afternoon rides. But the big thing we did was every Wednesday night, we went on a dinner ride. We'd meet up at a central area and we'll ride out into the country. We'll go to a restaurant, have dinner together as a group and ride back. And I never really noticed it at the time, but Bob never went on the dinner rides. Now, sometimes he'd show up, he'd ride with us, but about halfway there, he'd turn around and come home. And at the time, I didn't realize that Bob was facing a challenge financially. He and his wife lived on Social Security. They lived in a trailer park. They just didn't have the money to go out to eat every week. The lesson we learned about that, or what Bob taught us about that, was all of us have challenges in life. And he didn't let his challenge prevent him from enjoying motorcycling. He couldn't do all of it. He couldn't do everything. But that didn't stop him from going out and riding and enjoying his bike, enjoying being in the group. That's the mark of a true motorcyclist, I think. What lesson do we learn from Bob's stories? Well, the first lesson we learn is it's about the ride. Motorcycling and being a motorcyclist is about enjoying motorcycling. It's enjoying the ride. It's not about buying a bike to show off or to say, hey, I'm cool, I got this cool bike, I'm cool. No, any true motorcyclist knows just because you own a cool bike doesn't make you Steve McQueen. The second thing, it's not about the bike. A true motorcyclist doesn't really care what they're riding as long as they're riding. Now, sure, we're all out for having a really nice bike. We'd all love to have the perfect motorcycle, and we constantly are looking for it. But that doesn't mean you are diminished by not having the perfect motorcycle. You ask any real motorcyclist, what's the best motorcycle? And they'll say, the one that's currently in your garage. The third thing we learned about Bob, and I think this is the key lesson, it doesn't matter what obstacles you face. All of us in life are going to face challenges, and we don't let those challenges prevent us from doing the things we want to do. We A true motorcyclist is going to find a workaround for any challenge that is presented to him. Whether you've got a challenge with your health, or whether you're taking care of someone that has a challenge with their health, or maybe you don't have, you have a challenge, maybe you have a financial challenge. There's lots of challenges. Who knows what we're all challenged with? But a real motorcyclist is going to look at that. He's not going to take that as a roadblock. He's going to look at that challenge as an opportunity to overcome, to build a workaround and keep riding. In fact, Bob's story is really the inspiration for my YouTube channel. I'm trying to illustrate through the videos I make what it's like to be a true motorcyclist. If you've got a story about motorcycling that you'd like to share, please leave it in the comments below. I try to read all the comments and respond. Well, that's about it for this week. Ride safe, and we'll see you down the road.